Streaming worldwide from the Plymouth Sports Network studios in Plymouth Falls, it's time for the KSN Underground Podcast with Brian Gailey.
Oh, my sports fans, it's 2022, or is it 2020 Part 2? Anyway, I hope this year is great and exactly what you're hoping for. My fingers are crossed for you. My best wishes for you and everybody else in 2022 that this year turns out to be the year that we all hope it can be. I am Brian Gailey, the publisher of Klamath Sports Network. I welcome you to our podcast here today, which has a little bit of a theme of Henley High School Girls Basketball. Lots of cool stuff coming up in today's episode. I appreciate each and every one of you listening here today. If you take a moment and do a little housekeeping for me, I'd appreciate it. Give a like on the video or the podcast, wherever you're listening to this from, and take a moment. And if you like what we do in here on the KSN Underground podcast, be sure to subscribe so you do not miss out on any of the episodes we put together. That would be really awesome. And I would greatly appreciate that you guys did that as well. We start this new year by talking with Coach Denson of the Henley Girls Basketball team. And then we chat with our first Gaucho Collective featured guest for 2022. It's Annie Campos, a sophomore basketball star for the Henley High School Girls Basketball team. Annie talks to us about playing ball since 3 years old. Yeah, I was shocked by that too. She dishes on her least favorite food, and her answer might surprise you. I appreciate any interaction with our show here. You can call us on our hotline at 541-887-0274. You can email me at info@klamathsportsnetwork.com. And if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, go ahead and give us a comment there as well. We monitor those. We love to see your feedback, questions, comments, anything like that. Our hotline, it's open and it's ready for you to go ahead and call in. You can be a part of an upcoming show right here on the KSN Underground podcast by leaving us a message, a comment, a question on our hotline. Today's episode is brought to you by the Klamath Sports Network family, the KSNsiders. You can be a part of our family for as little as $5 a month. More on them in just a minute. So winter is in full swing here in our January 2022 timeline. We're sitting here today. And weather, you might not think about it, but it plays a significant role in winter sports. You know, it doesn't impact the game necessarily because games are inside, but it does impact the travel for our teams. It also affects the officials, spectators, even the media to an extent. Teams sometimes can't get over mountain passes or whatnot. We're all familiar with that. Games get canceled, tournaments get canceled. A couple weeks ago, there was a huge wrestling tournament in Reno that got canceled due to snow. We're accustomed to that, but it's the other parts of that, maybe we're not thinking about. Officials, if we can't get the officials to the game, we can't have games. Spectators, it's great to have spectators in the stands. It definitely creates an atmosphere that the athletes love. It creates an atmosphere that we as spectators love. If we can't have our spectators there, our parents, our fans, it makes things a little difficult there as well. There's other caveats to that one too. We're not going to go into that on this episode. If you remember 2020, you know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to spectators inside in the gyms. Something you may not think about: media, news, our sportscasters, they have a hard time getting to our games. You may find that, especially if you live in a market that has a couple of TV stations, a couple of local news stations, that the sports coverage is kind of biased to certain areas. Well, it's not necessarily because it's biased to those areas. They might not be able to get across the mountain passes as well. It's not safe for them on the timelines that they have for those basketball highlight shows and whatnot. So lots of things can happen with weather and sports here in the winter. We often think of weather when it comes to outdoor sports, such as football or baseball or softball or any of those types of sports, because we're outside, we're in the weather. But that leads us to a whole nother point. In the winter, road conditions, they suck, right? Everybody knows that the roads are going to be poor this time of year, no matter when it is. You have black ice, you have packed snow, you have blowing snow, blizzard conditions. You really can have anything this time of year. So it's best to be prepared for anything this time of year. Slow down, take your time, take way more time than you think you need to. If you're traveling in what would normally take you an hour in the summer, plan on 2, maybe 2.5 hours to get there in the winter. Don't be fooled on the road conditions. If things look dry, they may not be dry. It may be black ice. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here, but there's a lot of people out there that just rush around and cause more trouble than it's really worth. Ultimately, when it gets down to it, leave early. And if you're late, you're late. It's better off to be late than not show up at all. You don't want your crash and the results of your crash on the news. I don't want to be reporting it. You don't want to hear it. You don't want to hurt anybody. You don't want to hurt anybody in your car. You don't want to hurt anybody in another car. Slow down. Take your time. Heck, with the way things are streamed these days, catch a stream and don't travel. What about you? Do you have any tips here for anybody listening in today on winter travel? Do you advise that, we don't travel? Do you suggest we watch more streams? Do you say, F it, I'm going to do it anyway? Let me know. 541-887-0274. Email me at info@ClementSportsNetwork.com. I'd love to hear your 2 cents on that. Frankly, it comes down to something really simple for me, and this may sound selfish, but I do not want to be reporting your crash and what happened as a result of your crash because you were impatient trying to pass somebody or somebody was impatient and hit you. It may be selfish on my part, but I do not want to report that. What do you do? Do you travel? Do you take extra time? Do you take an extra day to go? If you've got a tournament, your student athlete is playing in a tournament, say this weekend, there's the Skyline tournament and the girls are up in Florence. The boys are going to be on Grants Pass. They both got to travel a mountain pass, 2 different mountain passes. Do you travel with your team? Do you watch the stream? Let me know. I'm curious. 541-887-0274. We're going to take our first commercial break. When we come back, it's Talkin' Hornets with Coach Denson. I want to thank our sponsor for this episode. You are KSNsiders. You might be asking, who is a KSNsider? A KSNsider is a financial supporter of Klamath Sports Network. I can hear you now. He wants money. Before you tune me out, listen to this. KSNsider is a way for fans to support what is done here in Klamath Sports Network, because without your support, content and shows like KSN Underground would not exist. Anyone can be a KSNsider, especially if you love high school athletics. Parents and family of players? Check. Fans of a school or program? Check. Fans of what we do here at Klamath Sports Network? Check. People with a pulse? Check. I invite you to help by pledging as little as $5 per month. Every little bit helps keep me caffeinated and fuel in the tank to cover those road games. For more information, visit KlamathSports.net and click on the yellow button at the top of the page that says Become a KSNsider. Our program is managed via the Patreon platform. There is no obligation for you to sign up. You can cancel at any time. Pledges start at $5 per month. Content like this cannot be made without support from people like you. Thank you. Now, on to the show. Welcome back to the KSN Underground Podcast. I appreciate you listening here today on our first podcast of 2022. Now it's time for Talkin' Hornets with Randy Denson. We chat about his background on coaching, how he got started, how long he's been doing it, his thoughts on his team this year, the Skyline Conference as a whole, and what he thinks it's going to take to win down the stretch. So this is Talkin' Hornets today. We're talking with Coach Randy Denson, head coach of the Henley Girls Basketball program. Coach, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having us.
How long have you been coaching basketball? I know you've been doing it a minute, but how long has it been?
As a girls coach, it's 4 years. I was an assistant coach for Coach Luke Hammond, his first year for freshmen. So 5 years now, 4 years as a head coach.
4 years as a head coach, 5 years doing it. What has been your favorite part of being a coach here at Henley?
I think the best part is just, seeing the experiences, the successes of our student athletes and being a part of it. I think being in a position to watch young students grow and to see where they're at when they come in this program and to see what they do when they leave. It's a lot bigger than basketball. It's just fun to be a part of.
It is, isn't it? It's always bigger than the sport itself, and a lot of times I hear that the best part is the relationships that you get.
Absolutely.
How is things with the team going right now? Is things going well? You're about halfway through the season. How's things looking?
Yeah, I think everything is going well. We had a tough tournament at Sisters, a lot of great competition. I think for our team, we're young and we have 5 seniors, but experience-wise, we're young as well to varsity basketball. And I think we've just been getting to know each other on the court and, getting through experiences, good wins, bad losses, good losses, all of it. It's just kind of getting us prepared for league.
Very well put right there, getting you ready for league. You are 5-5 on the season. We're going to be talking about that in a moment, but a little bit more about you. Can you take me through what a game day is like for you as a coach?
I wish I could say I was really calm, cool, and collect, but I'm usually like a big stress ball. Drink as much coffee as I can find. Pace a lot. If you come to our games, you can see me pace quite a bit. From the night before to game, I'm thinking about anything and everything about the game, opponent, what's going to happen. That's what I love about it, and it keeps me going for the next game.
Do you do a lot of research prior to the game to get to know your opponents?
Yeah, we have film on our team that we watch, our coaches watch. We have film on the opponents, and it's great because the technology nowadays can break down shot percentage, player, out of bounds plays, all that stuff. And I just get lost in all of it. So, I like to do that. It helps me stay prepared and keeps the nerves off for the game.
In your 5 seasons coaching here, what has been your hardest thing you've ever had to deal with? What's been the toughest for you?
I think the hardest thing is just the end of the season. I've yet to be fortunate enough to win the last game of the season. But I think, that's the special time that you have with that collective group. And regardless if you're going to get those players back, some you do, some you don't, but we're never going to be together again. And I think that's hard. And you have good things about teams every year that you wish you had every year. But I think that's the hardest thing is just knowing that, that season's over and that team's kind of done.
It is very tough to be so gung-ho for so many months, practice and games and being ready, and then all of a sudden there's nothing.
Right. And
as a coach, as a player, as a spectator, as even to the sport, it's switching from one gear to another can be very abrupt and very quick.
Right.
So I can only imagine what it's like on your part there. Looking at talking like your memories and things like that, do you have a favorite memory that comes to your mind?
Not really. I'm from a basketball family. Both my parents played a couple years at OIT. My sister played professionally, so I grew up in a gym around girls basketball since I can remember. And the only thing I wanted to do was be a high school girls basketball coach. And so just having the opportunity every day, every game to have that role is just awesome. And it's a great reminder of why I'm doing it. We're
talking here today. It's Coach Randy Denson. He's head coach for the girls basketball team here at Henley High School. This season, we're almost halfway through. You got one more tournament before we start league play. You're 5-5 on the season so far. You've got wins against Cascade Christian, Etna, St. Mary's, Bonanza, and Sisters. A great win there. A tough school that you got this last week. Losses. There's some respectable losses you got here. 5A Crater, Wairika out of California. You had a month on you in games and practice. Number 1 Sutherland out of the 3A. LeGrand, number 4 Junction City. Those are not some easy teams that you lost to there. Those are some tough ones.
Right.
5-5. What have you learned on the season so far?
I just think we've gotten really good experience and. We've played some close games. Most of them are close. And, we tell our girls all the time as a coaching staff, we just need to compete and have a chance to win at the end of the game. And I think besides Crater, all of them we had a chance in one way or another, whether we were on top going into the fourth or had a shot at the end of the fourth. Those are all moments for our team that we are just getting ready. And I'm glad that have experienced all those situations because I'm hoping that will help us propel us forward in league.
There's definitely a philosophy in the preseason of having easier teams to build your win-loss record for a ranking versus having tougher teams to build you stronger for a league run. Obviously, your schedule's been a little tough.
Right.
What's your thought on that process?
Well, I think part of it is, getting into these tournaments, you don't really know what you're going to get and what you're going to see. But I think, again, going back to all just building the experience and, I think playing respectable teams in the state is something that we want to pride ourselves as a program. And, these are all experiences that hopefully in the next couple weeks and going forward, that's going to be kind of our MO going forward when teams play us.
You are 10 days away from opening Skyline play against Hidden Valley here at home. But before that, you have the Sky-M tournament this week, 7th and 8th. What's your thoughts on that tournament?
I think it's a great tournament. It's I always think of it like the ACC Big Ten Challenge they do in college. I think it's great. For one, you get to see all your league play before the season starts. I think it's a tough, respectable league. And I think it's great to just see where your league and your team stand going forward. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of us see that league in the playoffs.
So you have a tough start of the season. You have Hidden Valley here at home. Then you're on the road to North Valley, who is ranked number one or listed as number one in the Skyline right now. Then you're at Mafal Hollow Court for Mazama. Those first 3 games going to set the tone for you, aren't they?
Absolutely. I think, that's going to be a couple weeks that will really cement where we are going forward in league. I think going back to our preseason, I think some of those tough opponents we've played are just going to set us up well down the stretch.
Looking at the Skyline and the girls' side of things, there's not any real front runners at all in the season.
No, it seems like a free-for-all.
It does. We're 10 games in, and a quick look here. North Valley 6-3, Mazama 6-5, Phoenix 6-5, KU is 5-4, Henley, you're at 500, 5-5, and Hidden is 3-5, coming in halfway through the things. Looking at these with no real front runners on the season, looking at this, I wouldn't be surprised if the league champ has 4 losses in league play, 9 losses overall. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think every game's going to matter. Hidden Valley's record, I don't think really reflects on they're going to be a tough team, and Joy is at Mazama is going to be very tough. So I could see those two being the top teams in our league.
Is there any of these schools that you're most concerned of facing this year?
Not one in particular. I think, like you said, I think there's ability in every team that if you are overlooked or you have a bad night, you might walk away with the loss.
Coach, I want to thank you for taking time with us. So we're talking with Coach Randy Denson. He's the Henley High School girls basketball coach here on the KSN Underground podcast. Is there any other thoughts and comments you'd like to make before we wrap up today, Coach?
Thanks for having us, and thanks for promoting our program. I just wanted to say that I wanted to give a shout out to our assistant coaches, Heidi Brookshire, Jesse West, Alex Stork, and Kevin Petrick. They are here for the right reasons, and what the time they do away from their families to be around our team and what they give to our program is I couldn't ask for anything else. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them and appreciate everything they do.
Well, very good. Yeah, we couldn't have a good program without the assistants, could we?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, good luck this weekend at your tournament in the Coast.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Denson, for being a guest on our show here today. If you've got a guest that you would like to see interviewed here on our Talkin segment, whether it's Hornets, Vikings, Pelicans, Antlers, Raiders, whatever it is that we're talking about, if you would like to hear from somebody, send me an email. Let me know, info@klamasportsnetwork.com, or give our hotline a call at 541-887-0274. We have so much more coming up in today's episode, including our next guest, Annie Campos, in the Gaucho Collective Featured Interview. Located at 11th and Main in downtown Klamath Falls, Gaucho Collective provides a fun and modern atmosphere for business owners and freelancers looking to grow their current presence or expand out of a home office.
Gauchos are diverse,
including those from higher education, internet and web development, photography, and marketing, just to name a few. Gaucho Collective engages entrepreneurs in ways that traditional offices cannot, through an open concept with a variety of semi-private and private spaces to suit all your business and collaborative needs. Amenities include flexible workspace options, fast and secure internet, document printing, kitchenette, utilities, conference room, hot coffee, and so much more.
Gaucho is even a great option for students looking to study off campus.
Community, collaboration, co-working. Your new office is waiting at Gaucho Collective. Learn more and become a member at gauchocollective.com. That's gauchocollective.com. Welcome back to the KSN Underground podcast. It's time now for the Gaucho Collective Featured Interview. Today, I chat with Annie Campos, a sophomore from Henley High School, a multi-sport athlete, both in basketball and softball, and she is an honor roll student. Annie, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Annie, you're a sophomore here at Henley High School, two-sport athlete, basketball and softball. You're an honor student. You actually started last year as a freshman for Coach Denson's team. How did that go for you? Was that pretty awesome? Or what?
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Really fun.
As a two-sport athlete, basketball, softball, what would you say has been your favorite to play? You've been playing quite a while, too.
Yeah, basketball. Basketball is definitely my favorite.
Basketball?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. You got started, we talked just a moment ago, you said you got started playing about 3 years old. What was that like?
Yeah, my mom said that she didn't want me to go play, but my dad was like, she's just as good as the other kids, so why can't she? So my dad just put me in there and I played.
What is it about basketball that you really love?
I'm not sure. More like I like to work hard and it's fun to play the game, compete with people.
Playing such as an early age. Has burnout ever come around? Is it eat, sleep, breathe sports? Has ever come a point in your time where you're like, I just don't want to?
Not really. I mean, every once in a while I'm like, I don't want to go to practice today, but every once in a while there'll be a time, but nothing big. Just like, today I really don't want to be at practice, but most of the time I do.
Talking after high school, you're just a sophomore. It's really early. Are you thinking about anything after high school?
I think I want to go to college and maybe become a high school math teacher.
Math?
Yeah.
I would not. That would not be my subject. No. Well, let's talk a little bit more about sports. Let's talk about softball. Last year, your softball team was pretty phenomenal last year. You had some great upper class talent. Second in the state tournament. What was it like to be a freshman on that team with such a loaded upper class?
It was really fun. The experience I had with them, the things they taught me going into this season, I'm gonna know a lot from them, and it'll really help.
Did you get to play much as a freshman?
Not very much. I got to go in a few times, like in a bat or out in the field once or twice. But
did you ever find any inspiration from those guys?
Yeah, I mean, all the time. They were great role models, and you could always look up to them and ask them for help, and they would always be there for you.
Looking back at what you've done, and 1 year so far, I mean, we haven't even gotten into the spring sports yet. We haven't got through winter sports yet, but your 1 year as a freshman, do you have a memory that just sticks out with you from that season?
Not like one in particular. There's lots of them. I mean, it's nice to just I made new friends, met people that I've never met before, and just made connections that I haven't had.
Let's shift over to basketball. We're talking with Annie Campos, the sophomore star on the Henley Girls Basketball team. You're 5-5 this year, so far this season. Last week, you are a KSN Athlete of the Week. Congratulations on that. It's the first time we've talked since that announcement was made. Your performance against Sutherland, number one school in the 3A, was great. It was phenomenal. You had an outstanding game. What was it like to take on that number one team?
It was very fun. It was very competitive. We came out wanting to win, and we didn't get the win, but it was fun. We competed. That's what we're there to do, is compete.
Playing the Bulldogs here at home, what did you learn?
That we're going to have some tough games, and that we're just got to keep pushing through it and just stay together, not get mad at each other, just keep everybody up.
What's up next? Annie, you've got the Skyline tournament over there on the coast, and then league play starting in about 10 days against Hidden Valley. Are you pretty excited for one more tournament?
Yeah, pretty excited. I mean, the more games, the better.
Is there any team that you're looking forward to playing at that tournament?
Not necessarily. I just want to go and compete and play.
Just go play. It doesn't matter who.
Yep.
Awesome. Hidden Valley is here at home to open the season. Have you got any thoughts towards the season so far this year?
We're a pretty good team, and we're definitely going to be able to compete this year.
All right, Annie, I do ask all of our featured guest student athletes here on the show for our rapid fire questions. These are just 10 quick questions, not really thought to be anything to think of the answer, just whatever comes to the top of your head. You ready for some rapid fire?
Okay.
Are you a Ducks or Beavers fan?
Beavers.
Favorite professional team?
That's a tough one. Probably, I like the Lakers. I like watching the Lakers.
Okay. Do you have a favorite professional athlete?
Sabrina Ionescu.
Okay. Who do you admire?
My parents.
Very good. Is there anything specific about the parents?
They just support me whenever I do.
Awesome. What's your most disliked food?
I don't really dislike food. I don't really have one.
What do you like to do outside of sports?
I like to go hiking, biking, just kind of out in the outdoors.
Is it Disneyland or Six Flags for you?
Disneyland.
Yeah.
I've never been to Six Flags, so I've...
Fair enough.
Yeah.
As a child, thinking back to that 3-year-old prodigy basketball star, thinking back to as a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I think I wanted to be a nurse or a cop.
Any particular reason?
Nope.
Just thought they were cool.
Yep.
There you go. Is it chocolate or vanilla for you?
Vanilla.
And the last question is, who would you say is your biggest fan?
Probably my dad.
Your dad?
Yeah.
We know Dad's listening. He's got to be listening to this right now. What would you say to him?
Just thanks for always supporting me, always being there.
Annie, I want to thank you for being on the show today here at the KSN Underground Podcast, our featured interview here for the Gaucho Collective Featured Interview. Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap up?
Just thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for being on the show. Special thanks to Annie for being a guest on our show today and talking about her high school life as well as her sports life. And I'm still shocked. Getting started in basketball at the age of 3, that is phenomenal. Dad must have seen something really well in those young years. Thanks, Dad, for getting her involved. She's a star athlete right now for the Henley Hornets. If you've got a question or a guest for somebody that you would like to see on the Gaucho Collective Featured Interview, send me an email, info@klamasportsnetwork.com, or call to the hotline at 541-887-0274. We're going to take our final break. When we come back, I'm going to take a look at the Skyline Conference and the basketball standings.
Need some extra spending money? Want to be active and stay connected to the games you love? Become an athletic official. It's easy. Visit www.newofficials.org. With the recent decline of a number of officials, we need you now. It is your opportunity to give back to the Oregon high school sports community. Be part of the OSAA's statewide sportsmanship initiative. Don't delay. Become an official today. www.newofficials.org.
Welcome back to the KSN Underground Podcast. I'm going to take a look here at the Skyline Conference in both the boys and the girls basketball standings, rankings. The rankings for the state have been coming out here the last couple of weeks. There's some interesting stuff there on the coaches poll rankings. We're also going to take a look at what's coming up here for our local 4A teams. On the girls side of things, North Valley sits at the top of the conference at 6-4. Followed by Mazama at 6-5, and Phoenix is also 6-5. Great to see Phoenix with a good showing here this year. They've struggled so much on some of their other sports following that fire over there. It's great to see their rebounding and coming up big in a sport here. The boys aren't doing too shabby over there in Phoenix either, so we'll look at that in a minute. Klamath Union girls are 5-4 on the season. Henley is 5-5, and Hidden Valley rounds out at 3-5. Don't sleep on Hidden Valley just because they're 3-5 on the season. They have an excellent opportunity. This is a very tight conference, most likely the tightest conference in any of the Oregon 4A schools. On the girls' side of things, there is no true front runner. We talked a bit about it with Coach Denson on the show. There is no true front runner. Anybody can win this conference, and it very well could come down to somebody that has, 3-4 losses, 5 losses possibly in conference play. Maybe 7-8 losses, 9 losses possibly overall. It's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. It may be won through tiebreakers as well. So definitely watch how the girls are going to play out this year in the Skyline. Taking a look at the coaches poll for the girls basketball, girls 4A basketball. Poll came out on January 5th, so just a few days ago. In the number 1 spot, 5-1 with 87 votes is Philomath. Number 2 is Cascade, 7-1 on the season. They got 80 votes. 3 is Gladstone, 7-0 with 65 votes. And in there, you actually, if you go down the list, you'll actually see that voted 10th by the coaches is Mazama at 6-5. They got 14 votes on the latest poll. Henley also, they're not ranked in the top 10, but they would be in number 11 if we went that far. 5-5 on the season. They did get 10 votes in that as well. That would have put them in 11th place. What's really interesting is the Skyline, Mazama and Henley are getting some attention from the coaches. But if we look at the Skyline standings, North Valley's at the top, followed by Mazama. And then Henley is actually at 500 at 5-5, but they're getting recognition. North Valley, who is in first place, isn't on the coaches poll list. Neither is Phoenix or Klamath Union, who's above Henley. So it's really interesting to see how the coaches see that dynamic, how that's played out. Mazama girls have looked really good this year, 6-5. They've had some tough losses to some very difficult schools, and I think that's why they're getting some attention there as well. Looking over at the boys' side of things, Henley boys are at the top, 6-4 on the season, followed by Klamath Union, who's 5-3. No surprise there. Those two schools, they may flip-flop the 1 and 2 spot here all season long. Now, unlike the girls, the boys' side does have some front runners, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say Henley and KU are the two to watch here this year. I've been asked several times at games who I think is on the boys' side of things, who we should be looking out for. I've said it then, I'm going to say it now. Henley and KU are the two that we need to be watching out for. I believe that the conference championship will stay in the Basin this year. Last year it was KU. They got the conference championship over there on an undefeated season. This year, I don't know if it's going to be KU that takes it or if it's going to be Henley that takes it, but my money is that the trophy stays in the Basin. Looking further down the list here, the standings, Phoenix is 4-6, Mazama 4-7, and then the bottom two, Hidden Valley is 1-7 on the season. North Valley is 0-10. They have yet to find their stride. Looking at the rankings for the boys, Marshfield, just like their football team, started off number 1, stays number 1. Marshfield 7-1. They had 143 vote for that first place nod. No stranger to the number 2 spot, Cascade 7-2 on the season, got 131 votes, and Staten 7-1 on the season, got 117. If we look down the list, last week, Henley was in the 10 spot, but unfortunately, they dropped out of the most recent poll. This weekend is the final weekend for non-league play. All of our teams are traveling on the road this week at the Sky M tournament. It's the girls are going to be up in Siuslaw. The boys are going to be in Grants Pass. Some really key matchups going to happen here. Some previews of what may happen in the postseason, possibly some interesting stuff. On Friday night at 6 o'clock, the Henley girls will take on Siuslaw. Number 10, Henley Lady Vikes will take on Cottage Grove at 7:30. Also at 7:30, the KU Lady Pels will take on a number 4 ranked Junction City. Saturday night, it will be Mazama and Marist. That's going to be a fantastic game to watch. KU will take on Marshfield, and Henley will face Elmira in the afternoon. For the boys over in Grants Pass on Friday, Mazama is going to start a little early at 3:30. They're going to face Cottage Grove at North Valley High School. At 5:15, great game here. Henley is going to take on number 1 Marshfield over at Hidden Valley High School. That's going to be in my opinion, that is the game of the tournament to watch. It's going to be Henley and Marshfield over there in the Sky M tournament. KU is scheduled for a game Friday night, but it is TBD on OSAA. So I'm not sure who they've got at this point in time. We will keep an eye on that as well. For Saturday afternoon, it just gets even better. KU boys are going to face Marshfield over at Hidden Valley High School. So we got KU and number 1 Marshfield. In the afternoon at 3:30, Henley will take on Junction City, and Mazama will take on Siuslaw. Also happening this weekend, Friday and Saturday, the Basin Invitational Wrestling Tournament will take place at Mazama High School. Another wonderful show here for us today, here on this first week of 2022. And hopefully it's not 2020 part 2, but a whole new 2022. No matter how you found this podcast today, thank you for listening and thank you for tuning in and making it this far in the podcast. If you prefer a different way to listen to your podcast than how you found it today, we're on Apple and Google and Spotify, iHeartRadio, and several other podcast apps. You can subscribe to us through there. If you like watching us on YouTube, you can check out our podcast on YouTube, and you can also comment on our YouTube podcast as well. We can check that out. And our Facebook page, we have it there as well. You can also like, comment, subscribe on any of those methods there for us. If you like to communicate with us, send me an email at info@klamathsportsnetwork.com. You can call our hotline at 541-887-0274. Lots of cool stuff coming up here as we get ready for Skyline basketball play. Next week, we're going to be talking about how those tournaments wrapped up. We're going to be talking about how the basketball Skyline season's about to get started. We haven't booked our guests for next week yet, so I don't know who that's going to be. If you would like to hear from somebody special, give us a call at our hotline. Let me know, 541-887-0274, or send me an email at info@klamathsportsnetwork.com. On behalf of my guest, Henley Girls Basketball head coach Randy Denson, and from the Henley Hornets, Annie Campos, I am Brian Gailey, and we will see you at the game.
Wondering how you can show your love? Head over now to Facebook and drop a like.
Want to see some more of us? Head over and meet us on Instagram.
This has been the KSN Underground Podcast with Brian Gailey. The podcast is a production of Klamath Sports Network. Join the game at klamathsports.net.